Hello, everyone, and welcome to the May 2017 comic book pool party. I am Captain Logan, and my panel this evening consists of myself and Ian.
Hi!
Unfortunately, the Curious Lo can't join us this time. She is very pregnant and is going to be delivering very soon, and so she is taking at least the next 2 shows off, and we wish her all the best, of course, with her delivery and her new baby. Really excited about that, and Ian, I hope she's able to come back and chat with us real soon after that.
Yeah, me too. She is like super pregnant though, like super.
As always, we want to thank Elite Comics for helping us out with the show. If you're ever in the Kansas City area, be sure to check out my favorite comic shop, Elite Comics, here in the Kansas City area. Ian, why don't we just go ahead and jump straight into it? It's a party. We're so excited to be here.
Oh, I'm jealous. I should have got stuff. Dang it, Cap.
And we're going to go ahead, as we always do, and get right into the cards. What we do here on the show is we run down our favorite issues for each of the weeks of last month. Last show, we had 5 weeks. We're back to a normal month again with just 4. And by the time this comes up, we'll already have 2 pull days for this month. So, Ian, there might be some things that come up today that the next issue is already out for, and we might find ourselves talking about, we can't wait to see what happens, but we might already know what, or I won't, because I haven't bought anything yet since last month, but folks might be like, hey, that's already out. I already know what happens next. So just imagine that it's like a week ago, and we're chatting about last month's books. We just get together whenever we can shortly after that last month. But anyway, we start with the birthday card, which is our runner-up. So imagine you get something cool in a card, but it's not one of your main presents. And Ian, tell us what your runner-up from last month is, sir. Go right ahead.
Okay, well, you and I have talked about this series a little bit, and it just wrapped up, actually, to your point. It just wrapped up with issue number 6, but my card from April is issue number 5 of Star Trek Green Lantern.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, like the first series, it's overall enjoyable, and it has its moments. The more you think about it, the more it kind of breaks down. The second series has been really, really strong overall. Still has a couple problems here and there, but this issue really started to turn things around right at the end, and it gave me what I wanted. It got me excited. It made me go, oh man, that's cool. So spoilers, I'm going to show y'all the oh man, that's cool moment. And it's oh man, it's cool. It's Kirk with a Green Lantern ring. I mean,
yeah.
How can you not enjoy that? That's just fundamentally cool. Like,
Ian, did you feel the way I did about that, where I was like, yes, of course.
Oh,
like,
yes, certainly.
I was taken aback by that and excited by it, and then I went, should have known that's what you would do in the follow-up if you didn't do it the first time around.
Oh, certainly. It's interesting. I listened to an interview with the writer of this book over on the Blog of Oa's podcast. They did an interview with him on the Green Lantern Star Trek thing.
Yeah, and that's Mike Johnson. That's the guy who does the regular Star Trek book and has been working for them for several years now, doing that.
It's interesting to hear him talk about giving Kirk the Green Lantern ring. He's like, he really wanted that, but they wanted to see if they could do more with this, and sales led to a volume 2. And he's like, you watch Chris Pine in the Abrams Star Trek movies, and that is in some ways Kirk, but at the same time that is very much Hal Jordan in a lot of ways. And so through this series has talked about Kirk and Hal Jordan are just bros. They just mesh and they get each other. And just seeing Kirk with a Green Lantern ring about to go up against Khan and Sinestro is just cool and fun and enjoyable. There's like a plot hole introduced in this issue that isn't quite finished or like ironed out, but that's okay. But also I like a lot about this issue. We get the Enterprise it has to decide, go to Oa and help fight Sinestro, or go to Earth and help fight Khan. And there's Kirk and McCoy and Spock all weighing the options on this. And Spock's the one's like, well, part of our mission's to explore, and Sinestro is the greater threat. But it's like, but we don't have jurisdiction there. Blah, blah, blah. Damn it, Spock. Bones, like, there's this great bickering. And then there's just this really cool moment where, Kirk just makes his decision. He's like, we're wasting time, Mr. Sulu. Go to warp. 3, 2, 1, go. And the Enterprise takes off for the center of the universe. That's a very Star Trek thing. So it really worked. It's really finding its footing. And the last issue did not disappoint from where this one left off. So I'm excited for the potential of Volume 3.
Yeah, I'm surprised you're enjoying that as much as you are. I like it too. I like it quite a bit.
Yeah.
And I think this series is, I don't know, it hits me in more of the cool Star Trek places than the first series did. And I like that it is relatively more intimate, if that makes any sense at all, because you have, like, it's not the whole spectrum again. It's basically just a couple of bad guys, one of which we established last time with Sinestro taking over the Klingon Empire. And so it's still very Green Lantern, but it's very heavily cemented in the kind of galactic politics of Star Trek. And so I like that it's a little bit more smaller scope, but it feels bigger in scope because I don't know if I can call it more character driven, but it's more about specific characters. And the relationships between the worlds and stuff. So I don't know. Definitely. It kind of tickles the Star Trek bone better for me.
Yeah, I agree. It's got a lot going for it. It's the first volume had a lot of problems in that I feel like they wasted a lot of their time setting up random members from Star Trek for the other cores, and then they didn't really add anything to the story. This doesn't do that. Like, I was worried that was going to happen with Khan. It ends up working out really well, and not, it doesn't overreach. I still think that there's maybe just a tiny bit too much content for 6 issues. It could maybe be an 8-issue miniseries, just so it has a little bit more time to stretch its legs. But as far as like seasons of a television show kind of books that we've been talking about with miniseries and stuff like this is working for me. And just how fun is it to have a crossover that's like also an ongoing?
Yeah,
I'm really enjoying that. Now, if I
found myself way more stoked about the first one after we knew there was another one. Like I went back and reread it after the first issue of the new one, and I was like, well, this is way cooler as a setup book.
Yeah, definitely.
And you never get status quos for crossovers like that.
Right? Like, that's the best part. And so I'm just, I'm got my fingers crossed. Let's convince DC to do it with Doctor Who, too. Doctor Who, Green Lantern, make it happen. But yeah, pretty solid. What was your card, Cap?
Well, I am surprised to say it's really cool that you pulled that Mr. Mike Johnson gets both of our cards for this month. I also went to Star Trek, and I went to number 7 of Boldly Go, and there were a lot of other things I could have put for cards this time. I hate that I'll just throw out a couple things right now already, which will reveal some of what is not on in my presents for this month. But like Super Sons could have been there again. Venom could have been there again. Kingpin was really solid. Infamous Iron Man, once again, was really, really good. But I felt the need to give it, and a couple of those I think are technically better things than this. But the reason I feel the need to give it to this is because I about dropped this book, and suddenly I'm invested and interested in it again. And so that's exciting. This is Johnson getting like the aftermath of the Borg stuff, getting past that. We had we had an issue last time that was all about Jayla that didn't do a lot for me. It was kind of just her backstory a little bit, and it was kind of a one-off filler thing. And now we're getting back into an ongoing story. And I've talked about this before, but one of the things I like about this book is that finally it feels like more of an overarching story for Star Trek instead of just a lot of two 3-part adventures that kind of vaguely connect and will call back to each other. This feels like more long-form storytelling, and I've just been waiting for IDW to do that with Star Trek. The problem with the first arc is that the plotting for some of the Borg stuff didn't make a lot of sense. There were a couple of big, giant, major plot holes that made it difficult to suspend my disbelief. But I liked the situation starting it where we're waiting for the new Enterprise to get built after Beyond, which is kind of off from what happens at the end of Beyond, but I like it better. It has to kind of steer itself in a different direction because Beyond, there's this mention at the beginning that there's this new great ship being built, and then at the end we just slap the Enterprise on it, name on it, and it turns out to look almost exactly like our Enterprise. So I kind of like doing this, where like you would, like we did with like Star Trek 4, we have to kind of wait around for the Enterprise to get built. So what are our people doing before then? Well, in 4, they were fugitives at that point. We don't have that here. So they're on different ships, and they're not all on a ship together. So there's kind of, at the start, it looks like there's going to be some fun subplots with that. But anyway, so we've kind of gone back to the original concept of Johnson's first Star Trek book to a degree, where it was the different original series episodes handled in the Abrams verse. And so this does Journey to Babel, though it doesn't call itself that, but it's the Babel conference from original series that's taking place for a different reason this time, and it's because the Borg attacked. Oh no, what do we do now in case they come back? And so we've invited the Romulans, and that's got people freaked out, and they don't like that they're there. And the conference is kind of all about trying to be unified again, but acknowledging the fact that the Federation is not exactly what the Federation is supposed to be right now, and it's real splintered. And because everybody's afraid because of what just happened with the Borg, you have all these different species kind of just going off, and we see this in panels at the conference, kind of going off by themselves, isolated, almost xenophobic in a way. And it's kind of fun to see him tackle that kind of thing in original series, because these are ideas that we've dealt with in later modern Trek with DS9 and stuff. But it's kind of neat to see Kirk and crew have to be in the middle of that, where your utopia starts to break down a little bit. And his writing is cleverer and sharper than I've seen it in a long time. There's this subplot with that I guess is going to be connected to the main story, but with this Andorian kid from the cadet group from the Starfleet Academy series, which I should mention, they're featured prominently here. There was a miniseries last year, I think, or maybe the year before, with. Yeah, it's been a while. My years are running together now. It's been a while.
Getting old.
yeah. But anyway, there's this kind of real typical thing with like his father not liking that he's in Starfleet and thinking that he's kind of ruining the family name and stuff, which is real been there, done that. But overall, I think it's the best issue of this series. I don't think it's brilliant or nothing, but I think it could be potentially good to great moving forward. I just hope that Johnson lets this story take as long as it takes to tell, not truncated, and that it stays as character-driven as this issue is, because he tends to kind of fall back on action things in real 5-minute wrap-ups, but we'll see how that goes. Let's go ahead and go on now to our presents for last month, and we begin with the week of April the 5th. And Ian, what was your favorite? And I imagine I know. But what was your favorite book for the week of the 5th?
I'm probably very predictable. No, actually, I bet you don't know, because the book I normally pick for this week was just okay that week. No, my favorite was Batman number 20.
See, I knew you'd do that, though. What's the other book?
Oh, Bombshells. Bombshells and Batman come out on the same week, once a month.
That's true. That's true. But you've got 2 Batman issues, and I knew you'd pick this over the Button, so... Unless you picked it twice. I guess you could have picked it twice, but...
I mean, I could have, but no, like, I picked this because, man, I did like a whole I think it's like an hour-and-a-half video with Steve talking about I Am Bane. It's a great story. It's like, Steve and I are big Morrison fanboys. We're struggling with the question after this story arc finished up, is King better than Morrison on Batman?
Wow, really?
Yes, it's that hard a question to answer. We're
Wow.
really phew. And Steve says yes in a way. And so I'm kind of I'm almost there. It's a very emotional book. It's a very clever, very cool book just to see. I love the whole plan of it. What was Bane's big claim to fame is, he came in and he let all the inmates out of Arkham, and that wore Batman out, and then he fought Batman. So what does Batman do? He lures Bane into Arkham, has all the inmates fight him, and then fights him fist to fist, waits for an opportunity to strike, and strikes to overpower him. Without having to, it's a great way to take out Bane without having to resort to, we cut off his supply of venom, which is the really, it's the cliche way of beating Bane at this point.
I don't know if he's even still on Venom at this point.
Oh, in this book, he goes back to Venom because of Batman.
Okay. Oh, that's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah. What happened at the end of I Am Suicide made Bane go back to Venom. And so Bane's just I
haven't read this together yet.
He's a steamroller, man. It's amazing. And there's just so many cool Batman moments in this. Tom King talked about this sequence of panels where Bane beats the crap out of Batman. He's like, "This is the end, Batman." And Batman says, "You know how many times I've heard that? Rest in peace, Batman. There's no escape, Batman. Time to die, Batman. Every night, over and over and over for so many years. This is the end, Batman. Every damn night. And yet I'm still here." That is such an epic Batman moment. That's up there for me with the with Batman rising out of the grave at the end of Batman R.I.P. So much of that is just, it's perfect, and everything about this just works. And then there's this running narrative, internal monologue that we reveal is it's Batman talking to the personification he has for his mother in his mind, and that wraps up in just an absolutely perfect, heartbreaking way where she says, "You don't need a good death for me to be proud of you." I love it. I adore that. That is just fantastic Batman writing to me, and it's got so much heart, and it's so cool all at the same time. It's magnifique.
I picked it for that week also, and that ending is the main reason for me with this particular issue, because I really dig King's philosophy on Batman and what he's about, and I feel like that is a direct response to maybe Snyder's Batman, but just the way we've characterized him a lot over the last couple of decades, where we keep asking the question of whether or not he creates more problems than he solves, whether he is as insane as his villains, and he must be a crazy person, right? Because he actually thinks that this is a war he can win, and King says, no, he doesn't. Batman is about setting the example. He knows there will always be somebody like the Joker or like Bane. He can't rid the world of psychopaths. He can't, and he knows that if he fights against it, it's going to become even more prominent. The job is just because he cares about people, and his parents' death led him to that. And at one time, it was probably that was all probably heightened, and it was probably more about the war. I really like that, and in a way, I kind of like how long it takes to get there. Even though my biggest issue with King's Batman so far has just been I wish it wasn't double shipped.
Oh God, no, I do not. I love that it's double shipped.
No, I know that. I know that. But I don't care for it. I think some of the really good story points got lost for me because of how little story is happening in each issue. I think it reads great in trade. I think month to month I get kind of bored with it, and I've had that all the way through consistently with it. I think I am I Am Gotham is brilliant. I had to read it together before I thought that. I wasn't caring for how little was going on in an issue, and like you've got to read it all together, or at least that's how I felt about it.
Yeah, I don't know. For me, I think the reason it works in the double shipping, I might be tempted to agree with you if this was like, you know, a 7 or 8 part series, but these have been, you know, 4 to 5 parter arcs, you know, and so you can finish it in a month, like the way it's double shipping. You can finish it in roughly a month and a half, and that's just so it's just fresher in my mind. Whereas with a lot of things, I have to really reach and try to remember what was going on each issue, and that just, I don't know, that kind of that works for me. That it's so this isn't going away in my head. I'm perfectly remembering everything that's happening in every issue, and I'm loving it for that.
See, it kind of went away from me a little bit, because what you need to keep in mind is less plot stuff and more what the book is about and how people feel about things, and that's easier for me to do when I'm looking at it all together.
Gotcha.
So when I'm looking every 2 weeks at another issue of this, I'm thinking, oh wow, that's how far we've gotten. Like nothing is happening. And plenty is happening when you sit down and put it together. They're really fast reads, which is
very
part
dense.
of the problem with it on a issue to issue basis for me. So I think, and let me go on record to say, I think Tom King is handling the double shipping thing better than anybody else at DC. I just would have, but I would at the same time love to see what it would look like if it was like what he would do if he had half the issues.
Gotcha.
I would love to see how he would have handled that. And as I've said before, just jumping on right after Snyder, who is all about defining Batman through people talking about Batman and Batman talking about himself, and not giving you very much you can really read. I resisted this at first. I think this is not that kind of a thing. I think at the end of the day, there's plenty of discussion you can have, and the book's not just in the book's not giving it all to you necessarily.
Oh, that's the best part. Is like,
even though it kind of reads that way initially to me, but it's not that way certainly.
Yeah, like that's what I really like about it. Is there's very little holding your hand. A lot of what's done is just done in panels. I can't think of an example off the top of my head from I Am Bane, but there's a great sequence in I Am Suicide, because people are complaining, oh, Batman's plan is ridiculous and he would never do something like this. And like at the very beginning of that run, you see Batman look at Gotham Girl, look at a picture of his parents on the wall, and then say, okay, I'm doing this.
Yeah.
And so it's just like,
it's great.
That, like you got 3 panels that perfectly give you his motivation for doing this. And this concludes that motivation. It's he's doing it because he wants to help. So like this, I don't know, it really works. There's a lot. These are quick reads. I'm always able to get through this during one of my breaks at work, but there's a lot of meat to it. It's one of those things you can miss a lot if you skip a panel.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. And so I'm in love with this book. It's so good. You know, I've said this as a joke, but I get less jokey about it each time. Someone just chain Tom King to a desk and don't let him quit writing Batman. Even if it just like devolved into Tom King saying, "Unchain me from this desk, damn it," I'm sure it would be brilliant.
We had, you know, you said it's only like 4 at a time, but we really have just had the first story, right? I mean, I am Gotham, I Am Suicide, I Am Bane is basically a 3-part epic, and so that's 18 issues if you count in the Catwoman stuff, which counts, I think. So it will be interesting to see, like, we now are at the end of his first big story. It'll be interesting to see moving forward what his next direction is, especially after the Button, which is kind of an interlude thing for Batman, but a major thing for Rebirth.
Yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting to see. Yeah, I'm loving the hell out of it. It's damn good.
the big question for me right now is what we do with Gotham Girl moving forward. I thought it was really interesting throughout that issue. And I'll mention this since you went ahead and gave away the mother thing. That you don't know what the second person narration is until you get to the end of the issue, and the way she's talking about it wouldn't be quite right, even if that was more of Batman's actual philosophy. The idea that he thinks Gotham Girl, even without Gotham, is his chance at winning the war. They seemed immortal at the beginning, but we know that they're not. We know that when they use up their powers too much, it is killing them incrementally. And so I really wonder if that ends up getting played out. I wonder if she puts the suit back on and goes back out and fights and stuff, and if a funeral for a superhero who dies just doing the job because she's only able to do that for so many years before it kills her.
Well, like, that's the interesting thing about the way I Am Gotham ends, is it has this, like, future jump narration that seems to be from Claire's perspective, where she talks about
I forgot about that.
Duke and all this other stuff. And I'm really curious to see where that's going, because that has not been brought up since. Someone reminded me of that in the comments on my live show at one point, and I was like, oh yeah, I completely spaced on that. So we'll see what happens with her.
Yeah, she would either have to stop being a superhero, or she's married for like 3 or 4 years before she dies. Like,
yeah, I'm not sure. I'm really
actually, that's not quite true though, because the idea was Gotham decided to start using way too much power all at once. So it's like, you could stop, like, the Earth from being destroyed, and then that's all you could do, or you can, use it incrementally. So I don't know. Maybe she'd be around longer than I'm suggesting.
Yeah,
and in comic book years, that's decades. So
they talked about it a bit in I Am Gotham, where it's like, oh, we can only live for like 10 years, and depending on how popular she gets. I love Gotham and Gotham Girl. I was really sad. Like, it broke my heart seeing Gotham go crazy and be killed. I really was, when I was reading through those first couple issues as they were coming out, I was like, God, can these just be part of the Bat family? These two are adorable. And so I'd be really interested to see if Claire could stick around, and maybe we could remove this time limit on her powers. Just long term, I think she could be a great addition to the DC universe. But she's King's character. I want to see what King wants to do with her. So
let's go ahead and move on now to our present for the week of the 12th. And since we both talked extensively about our one pick for last time, we go back to Ian and we find out what his favorite book was for that week. Go ahead, sir.
Mine was Wonder Woman. This book's picking up for me. Wonder Woman number 20. I've still got issues with it, particularly with the way it splits its story up. But, we introduced Cersei in this issue. She kind of has like this weird haircut that I really don't like. I will say that. I do not like Cersei's haircut. I hate
your haircut.
Yeah. She has a bad haircut. But we open up this getting like a lot of background on Veronica Cale and like what motivates her as a villain, since she is the overarching villain for this book so far. And she's the only like villain that's been in the past and present series. And man, she has got just the most human motivation you can imagine of just wanting to save her damn daughter. And she blames Wonder Woman for what's happened to her because the gods did it to get at Wonder Woman through her. And so it's just this, like, everything about the way that Cale is set up and how she meets Cersei and just everything that goes on in this is really, really fascinating. It's a very well fleshed out villain. Rucka is very well aware of what he's doing, and that's really neat to see. It has a great twist at the end, and you just get this, mother going to the ends of the earth for her daughter kind of thing. And that's really cool. And then there's just gorgeous art. Like, I love this splash page of Wonder Woman a lasso around Cersei, and it's like part of this whole plan. And it's just like really, really cool looking. I always loved Wonder Woman's lasso being like very, very bright, glowing in that way. It always looks really cool that way. makes no sense, but it's so cool. How does rope glow? I don't know. It's magic.
Every now and again, she has to replace the batteries. They're very, very small.
Yeah, it's like peppered throughout the lasso. And like, I don't know, I really like this where, you know, we have this exchange at the end where Cersei tells her that her daughter's soul is on Themyscira, and she's like, it's not about money. Their father is Ares. To free your daughter, you're going to have to unleash the god of war. And it's just this single panel of Veronica Cale saying, if that's what it takes. And I totally buy that motivation. She is a billionaire on par with Lex Luthor and Bruce Wayne with that kind of resources, and she's damn determined to get her daughter back because she's been dealing with her just being this faceless child for like roughly 7-8 years, and it's just breaking her heart, and she wants her damn daughter back. And that's like just a very, very human, very interesting, sympathetic villain motivation to me.
Yeah, I'm glad that started picking up again.
Yeah, it's still weird. Like, I'm always tempted to just not read it for a month and then read the current and read the past at once. I've been saying, why didn't they just release it as 2 different books? And I'm just, in my head, it now is 2 different books. It's just what I've called it. It's just 2 different books that come out on separate weeks. Wonder Woman only comes out once a month. Wonder Woman, The Origin, comes out every month as well.
The next thing I want to talk about is Silver Surfer number 10. I put the last issue of this, I think, on as my card last time, but this is one of the best issues of this series, and it made me tear up a little bit at the end. So I felt the need to put it on because of that. It immediately gets my attention, of course, because it's a Galactus issue, and it's Silver Surfer finally meeting and dealing with the new version of Galactus created by the Ultimates. Because if you're not aware, Galactus is no longer the Devourer of Worlds. Now he is the Lifebringer, and he's yellow instead of purple, and he's working with the Ultimates, and that's why he's able to be a member of that team. And what happens in this is apparently, and like, I don't know how this just suddenly came up. It seems like a thing that would be building for a while, but whatever. I think it's hilarious to do this big giant cosmic everything's going to end story in 22 pages, where apparently there is like a lock and a key of the universe, and they have to stay far apart for the universe to remain the universe. And the closer they get together, the more likely it is that everybody in the universe is going to die. It's basically reverse Big Bang, and the Big Bang is what made these 2 things go really far apart and create the universe. Well, they're getting too close together, so now Silver Surfer and Dawn have to push them back apart again. And it's absurd and wonderful, and I love it. And it has this incredibly romantic ending for them, and it's maybe kind of sappy. It is sappy in the best possible way, we basically learn that the personification of the universe, who we've met before, Eternity, wants Dawn and Silver Surfer to be together, and literally takes its hands and puts them together because they're so far apart now when they put the lock and the key back where they go, that just this once, it's going to help Silver Surfer to get what he wants because of all the times that he has saved the universe. And he joins his hands together so that they can be together again. And yeah, it's ridiculous and it's wonderful, and I love it.
What part of the feels did that
super
hit
touching?
You in? What part of the feels?
I don't know, maybe like the forehead. I think there's kind of a forehead moment.
The forehead feels? Okay.
Yes, absolutely.
Man, you talk about that book, and that sounds like just the right kind of tone for me. I might have to add that. Like,
you should really check it out.
I'm not a Galactus or cosmic Marvel fan at all, but that's the kind of thing I love.
Yeah, of course, it's, as I've mentioned before, it's compared all the time to Doctor Who, but I think it takes the right kinds of things from that, and it feels really out of time. It's super 60s Marvel.
Nice, nice. Yeah, I'm gonna have to look into that because it sounds really, really cool, and knowing Allred's attached to it really does sound exciting.
And with the exception of like 2 or 3 issue story arcs, it is the most jump onable book I'm reading. Like it's been going what 3 years now between a couple of volumes, and most of its stories are full stories in 22 pages, and
Oh,
they
yep,
it's
adding it. There's not enough of that. I have to add it just on principle now.
yeah, there's just exactly, and I hate how little anthology there is, and it is. I mean, I don't want to call it an anthology. There's
A through
you
line.
certainly can kind of track what's going on, but it's not. But it's not a through line in the sense that like there's some ominous evil that is looming in the background or anything. Just that it does tend to. It's like old school Star Trek, really, where we'll do sequels to old adventures, but it's very easy to turn on the TV and just watch an episode. That's very much what it is. We move on now to the 19th, and we'll find out right now what Ian's birthday present was for the week of the 19th.
Okay, let me ask you a question because I should have thought of this before we started recording, but you can edit this out if you need to.
Yeah.
A bit on the graphic side for a cover. You okay with me showing it?
It's okay. It's gonna be in the middle of comic shops and stuff. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So my book for this week was Black Hammer, number 8, and that's kind of what you see.
It's a little gruesome. It's pretty bloody. That's a cool cover, though.
It is, and like I've talked about this book before. My favorite character in it is Golden Gale. This girl who's kind of like Lemire's take on the whole Captain Marvel thing flipped. So it's a person who ages becoming a child when they turn into a superhero, who is now stuck as a child and has the brain of a grown woman, like in her like a middle-aged-ish woman. And that's just really, really tragic. And like she's been stuck in this town for 10 years as a child. So they make her, just to fit in, she has to go to school with children, and she's expected to act like a child. And so this issue opens with a flashback. But when we get to the modern day, she's broken into a bar and drank all night. And the guy comes into the bar in the morning and sees her. And she's like, what? And, he's like a normal person, sees a child drunk in a bar and freaks out. But she's, of course, just an alcoholic. She hates her life as it is right now. And just everything. We get a lot of background, more and more background on her. There's also some continuing stuff with the other characters and the deepening mystery. But just, I love this scene of Gale when she gets back to the house. She goes into the bathroom and stares in the mirror and keeps trying to say her Shazam word to change back into an adult. And it doesn't work here. She is trapped, and she hates it. So she just keeps screaming the magic word until the mirror cracks in front of her. And you try to figure out why does she hate this so much, and you get some more flashback stuff with her where she, fell in love with someone and had a family, and now that's all been taken away from her. And she has nothing left. And it's just heartbreaking, man. It's just the saddest thing in the world to see this woman trapped in this child's body, sitting there in a broken mirror and crying as she remembers her past and her love. And, it's just heartbreaking, everything about it. And then the mystery of why they're stuck there and what's going on deepens a little bit further, and it's getting stranger and creepier, and we'll see how that all goes. But man, oh man, this book is just every time right there, just arrow to the heart, man. It just gets you, and it's a very striking cover with a very graphic kind of imagery. Everyone's talking about that 13 Reasons Why show right now. You don't need that. This is more heart pulling because wow, this book's hard to read sometimes in the best possible way.
Yeah, it sounds amazing. I'm gonna have to finally sit down and take a look at that. And I didn't know about that until you started talking about it. But yeah, it sounds like, just the way you described it and looking at some of those panels, it looks like the freshest take on like let's turn classic superhero stuff on its head, which we do all the time, and it's often really generic. And I don't know what you're describing sounds.
Oh, it's definitely, it's very, very self-aware, and it's using that to make a very big point about comics and the nature of, like, okay, you know, we talk about this idea of a man-child all the time within like the nerd community, the geek community and stuff. And here we have someone who is literally an adult trapped in a child's body, and that's awful for her. And that's just inherently fascinating in the context of a comic book. There's so much going on with this book on so many different levels, but just the characters feel so rich and just absolutely fascinating, and it's hard to read. I will say, if you do pick it up, don't, like, I enjoyed the annual, but that's more just like a fun thing. They were all like, where Jeff Lemire brought in a bunch of his, you know, writer friends to do stuff on it. So it's definitely not necessary. That one is skippable, but it's still, you know, it's Black Hammer, so read it if you want. Black Hammer, the book that got an annual before it was 12 issues in. It hasn't been late. It hasn't missed anything, but it got an annual. So that happened. But yeah, good stuff. I really, really enjoyed this book. And there's,
see, all an annual really has to mean is that it comes out every year. So it would be really amusing if that came at the same time every year. Like, you get 9 issues, and then the annual, and then the next issue.
Yeah. It keeps going. It keeps moving along, and there's like this wider, deeper mystery that I really don't want to talk about. But like, okay, I'll talk about one thing where they're in this town, and one of these new arrival characters in this town that knows of the superheroes and stuff. It's like, okay, I should do some research. So she goes to a library to do research on the town of Rockwood, and all the books are blank. All the books about
that's awesome.
Are blank, and that's just, you know, it's really cliche for a comic book thing, but when you have something that's so self-aware of comics and this stuff, that really works for it. So I'm enjoying the hell out of it.
Ian, I don't know if you read this, and I'm surprised that it took my week, and there were a lot of good things that week. Let's see what else was that. Well, and you talked about Star Trek Green Lantern, which I also like. Super Sons was that week. That was great. Venom was that week. So I guess all the other things I might have put for my runner-up were that week. But I went for the 0 issue of Secret Empire. This is Nick Spencer, and is the new big event happening at Marvel. And I have not been reading his Captain America. I took a look at the first issue after all the controversy and liked it a lot. I loved all the deep pulls that he went to for classic Captain America history and continuity. The man really knows his stuff, really likes that character, and it's all about turning it on its head and creating this nightmare scenario. And I almost think it would be better served as a what if than actually taking Captain America and making him Hydra by changing around the universe to make that happen with a sentient cosmic cube. The main problem with that whole thing for me is just, and part of the reason that I didn't keep reading it and I had a hard time getting invested in that idea once I knew what it was, and I may go back and look at it after this because I really liked this first issue, but the issue with that for me is it makes me question every other character in the Marvel universe. When you change something that massive, I don't know what I can trust with history and with what characters are doing. And I don't mean to be a continuity hound. It's not about, oh, you messed up continuity. It's a similar thing, but on a grander scale than doing something like changing everybody's knowledge of Daredevil's secret identity, or even Spider-Man's Back with One More Day, where you've other people and the history kind of happened the way it did, but it couldn't have happened exactly the same way, and so you just don't know where you stand with people. I have a tough time buying that you're your Captain America history would be more or less the same until he finally decides to reveal that he's been working for Hydra the whole time, and maybe that's explained away a little bit in that book.
It's explained in this issue, actually. What's going on with why his history is the same as what we've seen, but can have this difference, is explained in this issue, which is the weird part. I've been reading Nick Spencer's run since Sam Wilson Captain America #1, and I've been very recently very up and down on this book. And yeah, I like a lot about what Secret Empire's got going on, but it's more what's going on outside of the book, listening to Nick Spencer or reading Nick Spencer talk outside of the thing, that really has me questioning how well he's going to be able to pull off this hat trick, if at all. Because I've yet to read anything in comics that so solely depends on how it ends and what the solution is compared to the journey of the story. Because I'm at this point where, like, I agree with you, Cap, on the general statement that you can get away with anything as long as you can get away with it. But turning Captain America into an agent of Hydra seems like something you shouldn't do unless you know for a fact you can get away with it. And if by the end of this that doesn't pay off for that, like, monumental of a change to the character, it's going to be a really hard run to talk about.
Well, I don't see how this doesn't eventually end, even if it's not Secret Empire, even if it's someplace else, with just history getting changed back, right? Like there's no way we hang on to that.
Oh, I mean, certainly, but I'm talking more about, like, the character things. Like, what is the character journey for Steve Rogers here, more than just the universe changing thing? Like, what is the solution to all of this is my question. Because hearing Nick Spencer talk about certain things on his Twitter, I don't know what that guy's thinking half the time. And reading this book, like, if I were to just take it on the issue alone, I'd give him a little more faith, but I have a hard time having faith in the guy when I read some of the stuff he says. It's kind of like that Alan Moore thing. Like, God, you're a pretty good writer. Just shut up. Just shut up and just write.
Well, maybe I would feel that way too. I haven't been following it, and like I said, I only picked this up because I tend to look at the events. But yeah, so I am doing that. You know, just looking at the issue alone. I thought it was quite good, and I don't know. Explain something to me. Is Tony Stark back all of a sudden? Did that happen somewhere and I missed it?
Okay, like, I'm not sure if it's in this issue that it's supposed to actually be Tony Stark. I don't know what's going on with Tony Stark in the comics. I can tell you in Secret Empire #1, Tony Stark is a holographic AI. So I don't know.
That's right. Well, and I knew he was, but it doesn't seem like he is here. It seems like that's just that's just Iron Man. But I guess it's not. Maybe that's the whole thing.
I mean, like, I don't think we see him out of the costume, like, or out of the armor. So I mean, it could be either or. I
guess I didn't realize that we were. I guess I didn't realize we were just straight up talking to the AI like it's Tony, and calling it Tony. But I guess that makes sense. I haven't seen any much interaction with it, and I haven't been reading the Riri book, which is probably where most of that is. So.
Yeah, and I didn't even know that was happening, so I'm just, like, flipping through it now, trying to see if we get a glimpse of Tony out of the armor. And even if we do, that
no, we don't. It's almost certainly.
Yeah, it could be like a continuity error, right? Like an artist continuity error. So I don't even know, man.
No, I doubt it. Because this is so heavily influenced by Civil War II. I'm expecting, as I'm sure a lot of people are, that we do something major with Miles Morales in this, because there's and unless that's already been dealt with in some other Marvel thing I'm not reading, in like 8 different places in Civil War II and side books and in monthlies going on at that time, we keep seeing the same 2-page spread over and over again of Miles Morales killing Steve Rogers, and he keeps swearing, of course, he would never do that, and he and Steve have a conversation about it, and it doesn't look like that would ever happen. But of course, you read between the lines, Steve Rogers is Hydra right then, and so maybe that happens in Secret Empire. So I think it's possible that we kill off the Steve Rogers and that it's Spider-Man that does it.
I mean, I'd certainly be interested to see where that goes. Again, my thing is just there's the layer of the plot, there's also the layer of the characters, and I'm not one for plot over characters. I'm theme over characters, and there's thematic stuff here too, but I'm really curious to see what exactly he thinks he's doing, and if it's all going to, collapse on top of him by the end of it. Because
Well, this Steve Rogers, because he was grabbed up by Hydra as a kid, he's just a different character. So
no, I meant not meant Steve. I meant Nick Spencer. I'm wondering if this whole thing collapses on top of Nick Spencer by the end of it. Like this is a weird balancing act. It's almost like watching someone walk on a tightrope. I just don't know if he's going to be able to pull this off by the end.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. I'm just saying that the point of the whole thing could just be to explore this other version of Captain America, and then we set history back at the end, which is not necessarily what I would want, but I don't know what else you would do with it. That's the easy way out. It's the standard way we do a thing like this. But the argument can be made that you got a character arc for a different version, and so it was worth the journey. I would like I said, I would just prefer to take a thing like this out of continuity and do a what if thing, as opposed to making it affect everything else that's going on.
And see, for me, like, if it is just okay, now we go back and change history back.
But I don't know what's balancing act about it. But I mean, like it was all changed because of MacGuffin. So you've already got that in play. I don't know why it's a House of Cards exactly, because we never keep things like this, Ian. Like it's.
Well, no, I'm not worried about the continuity. The continuity will be erased. Like, that's, everyone always gets upset about continuity changes. I don't care about the continuity change.
Okay, I'm not sure what you're talking about then.
I care about what's being done with the character. I care about, taking Jack Kirby's character of the Jack Kirby Captain America, who was, the guy fighting Nazis, and turning him into what is effectively modern day comic book Nazis. And that's really just that's a move that I'm with you. You can try anything. I'm not sure if he has the story, if he has the place to go with this to make that justified. If this just ends where we just, okay, continuity's back normal, never mind, none of this happened, that's a very unsatisfying ending. And to me, that's not worth doing that to the character. That goes against the integrity of the character to me. So that's where I'm worried about. Like, I need this not to just be a character arc for this alternate version of Steve Rogers. I need this not to just be a big event for Marvel. I need this to affect Steve Rogers. Steve Rogers is my thing. I need this to have a measured effect on him.
Yeah, well, and I don't know how you do that, because right now he's an entirely different person. What I really dug about this, and you've read the next issue, and I haven't yet, but what I really dug about this was seeing that nightmare scenario beginning to play out. The idea that you could take Steve Rogers that young, turn him into Hydra, have him grow up and make everyone believe in Captain America's ideals and values, and then stab everybody in the heart all at the same time. It's kind of like reverse Winter Soldier. It's like Shield hasn't been run by Hydra this whole time, but all of a sudden it's taken over it because he's got this great three-pronged gambit. I think the fun at the beginning that we have three big like end of the world scenarios basically happening all at the same time, where like you can't get any bigger for an event until you go cosmic or you do a big time travel thing, which this is, of course, but nobody knows it yet. But just as far as the scenario for what to do to get all the superheroes together, and usually Captain America's leadership would maybe save the day, but it's that leadership that has caused all this in the first place. And so when you get to the end and you see the beginnings of his plans taking shape, it seems like. And again, I'm reading this in a vacuum, so I haven't seen any of the prelude to it, but it looks at first glance like a pretty well thought out master manipulation plot. And I don't get enough of those, so that was kind of exciting. And I just like the scope of it. I think the art is beautiful. I think it's a really sad, scary book. And I'm enjoying in the moment seeing all that play out. even if it was a really strange choice in the first place. I mean, we'll see where the whole thing goes, but just right away, I want to be won over by it.
I mean, again, I think it's very effectively written. It's just the question of, can it all come together? And I can only answer a question like that if I have faith in the writer. And right now, I don't have a ton of faith in Nick Spencer as a writer. So I'm really curious to see if this will just not work for him, or if, like, it is just very underwhelming and ultimately not worth it. I agree with you. I really like the scope of the plan, and there's been a lot of like espionage kind of things where Steve Rogers is whispering in different ears and doing all this different stuff throughout his book. So that's been really interesting. And it's been really interesting to see how Steve Rogers has been like slowly undermining Sam Wilson as Captain America in his book. Because before this, Sam Wilson gave up being Captain America. And he's going to be, from what I could tell at the end of Secret Empire #1, based on just like a preview image, Sam Wilson's going to be like one of the leaders of the resistance against Cap. So really interesting to see where this is going.
We have way too many teams in Marvel right now. It's getting absurd. You throw everybody into the blender in this, and I'm glad I've been reading as much Marvel as I have, because a lot of these people would just be blank faces to me. I really like how he takes care of the Guardians and the Ultimates and all the spacefaring characters toward the end there. I thought that was quite a moment. But yeah, I don't know. I'm interested in it.
Yeah, I like the notion of, did we trust the wrong person, or can you trust someone with this much power? Absolute power, or power corrupts, absolute power corrupts absolutely. And that's a lot of what's going on thematically here. That's really fascinating. So there's
and Shield makes the mistake of accidentally becoming Hydra, or at least doing or at least inadvertently doing the thing they would do in giving the most powerful person all the power. If only we kept to our ideals, Captain America couldn't have done this to us.
Yeah, and that's the really interesting thing, is like, oh well, we need someone who is unshakable. It's like, there's no such thing. Captain America's a person. Even though we've been writing Captain America like Superman recently, Captain America is still human in that way, and so is Superman.
Yeah, and even Superman wouldn't give himself that kind of power.
Yeah, exactly.
He wouldn't run for president even if he could. That's why Superman 4 is real dodgy, when he just takes the nukes and flies them out to the sun, and you're like,
that is that weird thing where Superman's kind of like taking over the world without saying, I'm taking over the world, right?
That's right. Yeah, you gotta let us come to that on our own, or we didn't learn nothing. Let's go now to the final week of April, and it is the 26th, and we'll find out what Ian picked for that month. Go ahead, or for that week. Go ahead, sir. Oh,
my
cool.
book is Batman Beyond #7. I've been enjoying this run, mainly because it's just getting things back to where they need to be for Batman Beyond. We finally got Bruce Wayne back. Like, it was a bit of a contrivance to get him there, but whatever, I don't care. And then there's like, just, it's characterizing Bruce Wayne really well. Like, I love this 2-page spread right at the beginning of Bruce Wayne thinking about all the sidekicks he's had, and just this amazing little speech where he's thinking about what Terry means, where his place is, and all that. And that's a big part of their dynamic. And as we go on, we've been setting up Matt to be Terry's new Robin, and to be like a Robin Beyond. And Bruce, in the like after moments of thinking about all the Robins, is now seeing Matt. He's like, Terry's kid brother Matt, young, full of fire, reminds me of, no, don't go there. That's totally Batman in that moment, where it's like, he can't help but be a tactician. He can't help but think of ways to, as hard as it is to say, use people, but ultimately, like we were talking about with Tom King, he really wants to help people. And so that's just really fascinating. It's like, he's thinking of all these sidekicks that he's lost over the years, either to death or whatever other way they went. And he sees Matt, he's like, he'd be a good wait, no, I can't do this. I can't do this to myself. I can't do this to Terry. I can't do this to Matt. And so that was really fascinating. We got Curare back. She was one of the characters that hadn't reappeared in any of the Batman Beyond comics, so it was interesting to see her back. her and Barbara Gordon fighting the League of Assassins, Terry McGinnis dealing with a just very not Batman-like thing, which is to see the bat signal and not want to go. That's, Bruce Wayne very famously, anytime the bat signal was up, he would drop literally everything and go do it. Terry McGinnis sees the bat signal in the last issue. He's like, no, this is more important right now because he's dealing with his relationship with Dana. And that's really fascinating, and to see that immediately backfire on him. The one time he ignores it is the time that he is needed the most, because Barbara Gordon is fighting the League of Assassins on the top of GCPD. That's really cool. And it's just interesting to see how this is developing. To talk about the art a little bit more, people hate it. I love the new suit. I am in love with the new suit. It's like Tron meets Batman Beyond, and it's the greatest thing ever. I love the red.
Yeah, looking at that, I don't dislike it. I think the eyes are weird. I think it coming out of the eyes is kind of strange.
I don't know. Like, people see, the thing is, if you look at the cover for Batman Rebirth #1, and if you look, or Batman Beyond Rebirth #1, sorry, and if you look at a bunch of the other stuff that they've tried to do with the Batman Beyond costume in recent years in the comics, is the costume's designed very intentionally minimalistically, because it's animation, it's Bruce Timm, he's very minimalist anyway. It was designed to be very minimalist. I don't want to pay $3-4 for a minimalist comic. That gets old really quick. But at the same time, putting too much detail on the original costume design, trying to show how too much of it works, really doesn't look good. It looks over cumbersome. And so you need to add something, and just adding these lines, changing the way the wings work, stuff like that, it just looks a lot better on the page than it would on screen. And so I'm really enjoying that about it. Though I don't know how long this costume will last, because there's like a subplot of it having some kind of danger because it's a prototype and it was never meant to be worn again. So I'm curious to see where it goes, but I'm really enjoying it. Like, Terry's going way too far in how he's taking out League of Assassins, and it's kind of creepy. Like, oh my god, just looking at panels of this costume, it's so cool. That's a neat panel, Cap. So I don't know. I'm really curious to see where this goes and how it continues, but I'm interested in it. And then we get Ra's al Ghul teased at the end, so he's one of the few Batman villains that I'm comfortable with being in Batman Beyond. So we'll see how it pans out.
Well, that was a complaint early on with Jurgens, that it looked like he was just going to redo every villain, and I don't know how much of that he's done, but
he's done some stuff with Joker. Joker's back. I hope it's a little more clever than it might be, but honestly, I'm okay with it. Do what you want to do. It's whatever. At this point, I feel I can comfortably say there's absolutely no way Batman Beyond Return of the Joker can be in continuity.
No, there's not. But that was already true quite a while back, I think.
Yeah, it's been a real hodgepodge, because they can't decide whether or not this is in the main DC universe or if it's in the DCAU.
The big thing they can't decide is if that show is canon. They like to really pick and choose stuff, and they seem to steer toward it in DC canon before anything. I don't know why that's important, but
yeah, I gotta say I'm confused and probably hate this cover, but I'm not sure if I hate this cover or not, because I'm confused by this cover. It might be a coloring issue. Batman Beyond fairly well. Who do you think that is hugging Terry on the cover?
I don't have a good picture, so I can't really see it.
Okay. All right. Well, you remember Max from Batman Beyond? His
That's
friend,
what I thought you were probably going with that.
With the pink hair. Like, this is a very romantic kind of subtext cover.
Right. It looks like he's going to get with Max, right?
That's not the relationship at all, but at the same time, Max has pink hair. She has pink hair in the book. When we see her in the book, she has, pink hair, and then the girl on the cover has black hair. So I'm not sure, did the colorist just really screw up Dana? What is going on here?
Is it Dana and Max amalgamized? What is it?
I don't know. Did they do the fusion dance? Did they she is wearing an earring, so maybe. It's just I don't know what they did.
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah, and Curare is blue, so I'm just throwing her right out the window. It's obviously not Barbara Gordon. I don't know who is about to smooch Terry McGinnis on this cover, but if it's Max, I hate it. If it's Dana, it's a really bad coloring issue, because at best Dana is Asian, she's either Asian or white in the show. There's no way you can go with any other race for her. This is very clearly a black woman, so I don't know what they're doing here.
That's hilarious. Who is that? Who is this mystery person?
The mystery of Batman Beyond, number 7. Who's Terry's new squeeze?
Even though it's obviously still Dana, that's really funny.
Yeah, that was very bizarre. And like the context doesn't fit it because it's got all the League of Assassins characters behind him. So like it implies that it's on the roof of GCPD. So like it could be Curare. Maybe Curare just puts on blue skin makeup. I don't know. I'm confused. I need a nap.
That is the most baffling cover I've seen in a while. That is hysterical.
I just like it's weird. I talked about a Doctor Who book that did this a while back too, where it put the Doctor and one of his companions in a very flirtatious look, and that's just not their relationship in that book. And like I really don't like when covers do that, when they imply a relationship between two characters where that does not exist.
And obviously, if it was Dana, the point of that being in the background is he's ignoring his obligations.
But she's
that's what it should
black.
Be. Yeah, but that's what it should be. It should just be Dana, and then the cover makes perfect sense.
But it doesn't. Like that is like the most blatant colorist issue I've ever seen. Like people complain about what's her name from Morrison's run being orange, but this. What?
Yeah, and that's not even somebody just colored the skin wrong. That's a different character.
Right. It's bizarre.
So the book I picked for that week is also a Bat book. I was surprised to have 2 Batman books on for my presence this time, and that you did the same thing as well. Hands down, and this might be my favorite book of the whole month. Batman of the Shadow. Oh boy.
Ooh, I didn't know that was a thing.
Boy, this book, you've got to check this out. It's amazing. And it's a difficult thing to talk about without giving away the big reveal at the end of this, which is an incredible reveal, and it's not just a, oh cool, this character showed up. It's bookended, it's building to that the whole time. It's a big revelation for the mystery that we're trying to solve through this, and the answer to what's going on with all of that ends up being the coolest and best way I could think of to have a Batman world where the Shadow is not a fictional character. I have a real tough time with that idea. I have a real hard time Shadow as a fictional character didn't influence Batman in some way. So as soon as you put those, and Zorro's that way too, as soon as you put those characters together in the same world, my mind immediately starts going to, okay, how can you have Batman if the Shadow didn't influence him? And the answer to that is awesome. This is not one of those crossovers that goes the interdimensional route. Lamont Cranston and the Shadow is just a character in this world, and we have kind of made the Shadow sort of a Batman character in this, or Batman a Shadow character, depending on how you want to look at it. And the parallels to the characters are really cool. Basically, the plot is somebody has killed someone named Lamont Cranston, and Batman is doing his detective thing, trying to figure that out, and discovers that Lamont Cranston goes back before he possibly could, being the age that this guy was, and he seems to be either immortal or he's lived a really, really long time. And as he starts looking into this, he starts to discover the mythology of the Shadow, and he starts finding the Shadow's old informants and or people who knew them. That would go around and keep track of everything, and his big network of eyes, so that the Shadow knows. And we meet a lot of those people, and like I said, some of them are like elderly now, and some of them just are like children or friends of some of those people. And he dates all the way back to the 30s, so it's not a period piece, but it's the Shadow from that period. And it reads wonderfully noirish. The atmosphere in this is fantastic, and it reads very much like the Batman I most know and love, and it feels somehow rather like we had to put the Shadow with Batman before I got my Batman again, and that's really exciting. I like Tom King's characterization, but this just feels more like the Batman I grew up with, and it's fun getting to see, like I said, the different compare and contrast with the two characters. You see Bruce doing the matches Malone thing, and of course the Shadow has a whole lot of different aliases, and so we compare the aliases, and we compare the different ways that they manage to get around and strike fear in the hearts of their villains, and the Shadow just kind of was Batman before Batman, but this much more exaggerated version of all of that, and it's fantastic. I'm really impressed with it. Like I said, that big reveal at the end completely blew me away. So you're gonna have to make sure and look at that.
Yeah, I am, but seeing Dynamite doing a crossover with DC, I don't know if you can tell, but I'm a pretty big Zorro fan, Cap. Just if that didn't occur to you in any way, I don't know what I could possibly do to reveal such information. But I need myself a Zorro Batman crossover, like, really bad. I need that in my life. So if that could be a thing.
I feel like, I think there's precedent for that. I thought there was some kind of a team thing they did at one point that had Zorro and Batman both on it, but I'm not sure.
I'm pretty sure they've never had a crossover, which is really weird. But yeah, I'm really curious to see the Shadow, and like knowing it's weird that Dynamite has both the Zorro and Shadow license and got permission to do a crossover with DC.
Yeah.
And went Shadow before you go Zorro, because maybe it's just me, maybe I'm a little biased. I don't know what I could do to tell you that I'm more of a Zorro fan, but it seems really, really obvious to go with Zorro over Shadow. But I'm curious to read both of them. Like if we ever get a Zorro Batman crossover.
Yeah, I think
I guess
looking at
I should say there is technically kind of sort of one, depending on how you think of things. This is hot. I'm taking it off. Depending on how you think of things, there's an episode of the 90s Zorro show where Adam West shows up, and that was kind of something special. But yeah.
Yeah, looking at the fictional history of Batman, you would think that pairing up him and Zorro would make more sense. But Batman was so influenced by the Shadow, and so much more so than Zorro. It's like, I'm not a big Shadow fan. This is not a thing I was all that interested in. And then I read it, and it's brilliant. We go on now to our wrapping paper. We go on to our cover for this last month. And Ian, what was your favorite cover last month, excuse me?
Okay, so like I always do my little intros, as you know, Cap. Not like a huge, like, there are people who are on both sides of this that like hate it or love it or whatever. I wasn't a huge fan of bringing Watchmen into the DC universe or anything, but I didn't hate the idea either. It's comics. You do crap like this all the time anyway. I don't know why Watchmen should be a holy grail, but I didn't have like much interest in like actively reading the stories that attach to that. I was like, just as long as I get a good DC universe skin, I'm happy. But then they released what the cover would be for this book, and I mean, just Cap, it changes when you move it. It's a lenticular cover.
Oh man, I didn't get that one.
Why would you not get the lenticular? It's the lenticular cover.
Because it wasn't in my. I didn't know they made that. It wasn't in my box, and I wasn't there on day one, so I didn't know that existed.
All the button issues have lenticular covers.
Oh, that sucks. Yeah, I didn't know about that.
Yeah.
No, I didn't actively not get that. I didn't know there was one.
Oh, dude, it's so cool. Just look at that. Batman,
yeah, it's awesome.
The Flash.
That's really frustrating.
Flash. Like, dude, I seriously, on comic reviews for like a good minute and a half, I just did this. I'm just so in love with this. And like, there's all this lenticular stuff coming out. Like Marvel for Secret Empire or whatever that is. It put out like a lenticular board that's like the Captain America shield turned into a Hydra symbol. But like, I don't know,
cool.
man. I just love this. I love the sound it makes. I love the feel.
Yeah.
It feels good. It looks cool. It's just like, this is what made me buy the book. I mean, I was gonna get it anyway because it's King, and it's pretty good. It's got like, I think King has a thing for having Batman just get beat to tar.
Yeah, he does.
I don't know, man. It's a cool cover. I can't say much else about it. Like, I wasn't really interested in this, but then they released the cover. I'm like, yeah, I got it. I gotta.
I thought the blow-by-blow hockey thing was cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. I don't know, man. It's like, I don't really have much to say about the button.
And that playing as, and I haven't read the Flash issue yet, but that playing as a direct sequel to Flashpoint, I immediately was more interested in it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's interesting. Like the whole crossover, it's like, it's okay. It's like, you know, people want anything with Watchmen to be awful. Like, anything that touches Watchmen again to be awful. Like, remember all the people making fun of Before Watchmen when it was announced, and then when it came out, everyone was like, yeah, it's just kind of okay. Like, you couldn't say anything bad about it. And like, this is, you know, not a lot.
Oh, you could. There are bits of it that are awful, but you're right. People weren't as up and hard. I think people just got tired of complaining about it. We're just like, okay, it's out, and now we don't really care that much anymore.
It's touching Watchmen again, and you know, it's not the best. It's not like Watchmen level good, but it's certainly far from awful, and it's just okay.
Well, there's no reason to compare them. Right now, that's just a MacGuffin. I mean, like the button itself is just a way to get more cosmic interdimensional things happening. I mean, like, we haven't really touched Watchmen yet. I mean, more so with the whole Dr. Manhattan thing, if that's actually who that turns out to be, that keeps popping up in other books. Like, I think there are a couple other things that are actually touching Watchmen more than that is, but.
What's interesting about this, being that it's tying into Watchmen in some way, shape, or form, King is very, very aware of paneling. He's a writer that really likes to use comic books as comic books. They're not meant to be movies or other things, and so he really utilizes paneling. This has a lot of the 9-panel grids.
It does. That's true.
And I was pretty impressed with that in this issue. So yeah, I don't know, man, but seriously, the selling point for this, lenticular cover. It's a lenticular cover.
Cover anyway, but yeah.
I mean, it's just like this one, like, there are 3 lenticular covers already. This one I like the most because it's the most dramatic change just between Flash and Batman, but it just works so perfectly and it's seamless, and it's the most noticeable change. Like the one for Reverse Flash, it's like he's kind of skeletal. The one for the crossover with Flashpoint, it's like Reverse Flash and Thomas Wayne Batman, but it's not quite as clean.
We are making a big deal out of that whole thing, aren't we? Yeah, I didn't know about those lenticular guys, and there was a time where I tended to kind of resist that because those kinds of gimmicks were part of what destroyed comics in the 90s. But they're fun independently, you know, on their own. It's fun to have them.
Like, the fact that they're just releasing it as, like, you know, a special thing, it's not like every other week we have a lenticular cover or something like that. The fact that they're just reserving it for a special thing and it works, and like the art actually justifies that it's lenticular and everything, that really does work.
So I didn't see a lot of really impressive covers last month. I like Venom, but it's weird because this is the reveal of the end of the issue. So if I had put this as any of my presents this time, I could have talked about the ending, because there it is. You would have thought that would be the cover for the next issue, but it's not. Anyway, so the one I picked is Thanos, because Thanos fighting the Phoenix is just really cool.
Oh man,
it doesn't exactly happen that way in the book, but it is just kind of a cool epic thing to imagine Thanos fighting the Phoenix Force.
That's a poster somewhere down the line.
It should be, yeah.
Yeah,
I don't have anything to say about it. I just think it's really pretty. Yeah. Let's go on now to gift returns. Ian, do you have any really, really massive duds that you almost want to take back?
Poe Dameron.
Again!
So disappointed in this book. I wanted to love it, and it did things every so often to make me get there, but I'm 13 issues in. Cap, ask me what happened in this book. Say, Ian, what happened in this book?
Hey, what happened in that book?
I can't tell you. I honestly cannot tell you. You know, I did not look through this book. I dropped it because of this issue. I did not look through this book for the show, but sitting here throughout the entire show, I'm trying to remember the sequence of events of this book. And that is how little investment I have in anything.
Yeah.
I just have no idea what's going on. It has been consistently the most underwhelming, boring book. And it's Poe friggin' Dameron. How do you do that? That's like an achievement. And this is what makes me worried about Charles Soule writing Darth Vader. Gillen's run was amazing.
Yeah.
This is the only Star Wars thing I've read from him. What's going to happen with that? It can only be worse.
Not be right for that. Well, we'll see. I mean, he might just not be right for that character.
I'm sure there's explanations.
It's not like it doesn't. It's not like it doesn't feel like Star Wars. It's not like the problem with it is that guy can't write Star Wars necessarily. It's that he just didn't have a take on Poe Dameron. And with all due respect, I don't understand the love for that character. And personally, I think that would be a real hard book to write.
I don't know. It's like, it's a cool starfighter pilot. It shouldn't be that hard to write. And like, there's stuff in here, like he knows, it seems like he has a voice for him at times. I mean, if I was going to be generous, I could say maybe because it's set between 7 and a movie or 6 and 7, he's not allowed to do too much to like really establish or flesh out the universe in any significant way.
Right. Yeah.
Like maybe his hands are just tied, and so he's having a really hard time doing much with it. But at the same time, I'm like, then why are we even releasing this as a book? What's the point if it's going to be a completely pointless story? Like, you talk about not enough getting done issue to issue in DC. Read Poe Dameron.
No, I dropped it after 6, I think, 6 or 7. Yeah, and part of the problem, of course, is most of the rest of Star Wars is really good. So I mean, like, the bar is set quite high. I mean, you compare that, or at least what I had read of that, to Dr. Aphra. It's night and day. That's a pretty good book. I think. I almost put it on one of my weeks this time, but something else beat it out. I think Darth Maul remains really good. And there's some books coming out that I'm really excited about with Star Wars. So it's just the bar's really high. You gotta come up with something a little bit more exciting and meaty than what you have there. But that should be like, that doesn't. And I say meaty. It doesn't have to be a real deep book. It just needs to be fun space adventure stuff. It's a star pilot. Yep.
And they just can't do it. I don't know what's going on. He just can't make it happen. Like the prison. Okay, so the first arc of the book was like really boring, and I was really worried about it. The second arc was amazing, with them on a prison planet and escaping.
Yeah, I read the beginning of that, and it seemed like a cool idea, but I was already kind of bored by then, so I didn't keep on it.
Yeah, no, the prison planet arc was really good, and like, okay, this book's finally picking up steam. And then it had like another good one and done story, and then it just started dragging its feet again, and I'm just like, I gave you a year and you couldn't keep my investment. I don't know what more I could do for you. And this is like a pretty, like, looking through it now, I'm remembering everything, this is a pretty penultimate issue where a lot of like the story threads are happening, and like there's space battles and excitement, and you know what, I don't care.
Do you agree that it was kind of a strange choice to make that a monthly?
Yeah, probably. Like, initially I thought it was going to be a miniseries.
Yeah.
And it's not. Like, I mean, the Lando book was thousands of times better than this. Make that
5 issues.
The monthly.
It's great.
Yeah, the Lando book should have been the monthly. This is just sad.
Yeah, and the nice thing is, a couple of those weren't great, but they were only miniseries, so you didn't have the year plus investment. Like, Leia was okay. Chewbacca was dull, and I quit on it after 2 issues.
See, I didn't read Chewbacca. I thought Leia was awful.
Oh yeah. I mean, I wasn't in love with it or anything. I thought it was just okay.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like this is just disappointing. I really wanted this to be good, and I think this is like kind of a perfect example of the difference between page and performance as far as we talk about like actors in films, because initially on the page, and this kind of the background for it, Oscar Isaac Poe Dameron was not supposed to survive Act 1 of The Force Awakens, but they just loved his performance so much. He has such a magnetic and just energized performance that they brought him back just because they wanted to keep that character around, which is very in line with how the original Star Wars movies were produced. And so that was really cool and exciting and fun. And then, like, you talked about it at the beginning, you don't understand the love for that character. It is all in Oscar Isaac's performance. Because Poe doesn't specifically say or do anything like really cool just in and of itself. It's just the way he carries himself, the way he acts those scenes. And this kind of the perfect example of that. Like, occasionally Charles Soule comes in and captures the essence. What you need, this is going to be a weird thing to say, you almost need freaking Oscar Isaac to write this book. Then you might have something. But I feel like Soule just does not, either his hands are tied or he doesn't have a great voice for the character. I don't know what, but it's not been good.
Yeah, I just think the kind of story that has to be might not be right for his sensibilities. Soule, I've always thought can be kind of hit and miss. His Daredevil took a while to pick up, but he's on now. That book is wonderful, and that goes to some like really disturbing, creepy places, which makes me think he could be right for Vader in a way he's not for that.
Maybe, I don't know. I'll have.
And also, he loves his politics, and a Vader book is likely to be political, or could be.
Yeah, and I love the Gillen book, and so I'll have a really hard time reading Soule because he's got to fight his way out of a cage for me right now. You know, when you get kind of soured on a writer when like the first thing you read from them isn't very good, you get kind of like you're kind of in a ditch now. You got to fight your way back out of that. So that's
and again, I don't have that because he won me over with his Daredevil, but
yeah, but this is the first thing, at least of note, that I've read with Soule. I cannot tell you of anything else that he wrote that I've read. So,
and it's been a while. I know I've read some other stuff, but it's been a while. So
yeah,
off the top of my head.
I don't know. Like, this is a bad introduction, if nothing else.
My gift return for last month, and some of this is, I will admit, purely a taste thing. And I hate this. It hurts my feelings because I love this writer so much. But Scarlet Spider-Man was not doing it for me. Yeah, I didn't care for this. And a lot of it is because David is playing too nice with what Slott was doing with this character. It's just too much of what that was. And like trying to be consistent with what he did with Ben Reilly as the big bad for Clone Conspiracy and all of that. I understand that right out the gate he can't be a high flying superhero. That he was kind of a crazy person. But it reads a little mean-spirited to me, which I guess he could get out of, but it's like Deadpool without Deadpool powers. Like the comedy is, and it's more comedic than I would have expected it to be, and like he wasn't a funny character and like he wasn't cracking jokes and stuff in Clone Conspiracy. I guess like now trying to be a Spider-Man character again, it maybe sort of makes sense that he's trying to be what he was before. But it's weird in the way that it's like trying to be consistent with that, but also trying to justify the idea of this as a book. I think part of the problem is just this is a book doesn't make any sense. That you would take the Ben Reilly, typical tragic. He was an experiment and tortured a lot, and then came out of that and tried to bring back everybody that Peter Parker had ever hurt or like was killed because of him or because of his inaction. The idea of taking that guy and giving him a book without anything else happening in the interim is a crazy person notion. And it being Peter David, I really expected him to find some way to make that work, and he's trying, but it's not working. And like I said, it is weirdly Deadpool sensibilities and kind of like old school Deadpool sensibilities, like the Joe Kelly stuff. It's that kind of like black humor, and there's like he goes and saves somebody in an alleyway, and then she asks how he could ever repay her, you know, that typical line, and then he says, I need $100, and she only has a 50, and then he holds her to it and says, it says, you better be good for that $50. And I just don't know if I want to read that book. That's
see, that's like really funny in and of itself, but it doesn't sound like it would work in other stuff. Oh.
I don't know, and I might give it another issue or two, but just right off, so like. It is the book that rubbed me most the wrong way, which is why I put it there. And just strictly the idea of gift return. If someone gave this to me, this is not for me. That's kind of why I put it there. But I don't know. He can maybe pull it out. It's just and also Scarlet Spider is like hallucinating. The old version of Ben Reilly, who's kind of his conscience and constantly talking to him, and so it's sort of Moon Knight at that point. And I just think that's somewhat of a strange choice, and it's kind of weirdly the reverse of the last Scarlet Spider book with Kane, and Kane is in this, of course, so he was a villain going down the path to redemption and being Scarlet Spider and trying to be a good guy, and this is Ben Reilly, who at one time was that, who has gone crazy, now puts a costume on again and doesn't really care that much about being a good guy. The way he gets his costume, I gotta say this real quick. Also, the way he gets his costume is bizarre and hilarious. He just steals it off a cosplayer. He just beats up a cosplayer and puts the costume on.
Oh my. You know, yeah. I pride myself, even though I'm not like a super fan that knows all the history of all the characters, I pride myself on knowing a little bit about everybody. I know a little bit about everybody. I have absolutely no clue who Ben Reilly or Scarlet Spider are. I know nothing about that character's history, except on some level there's cloning involved, but that's just based on titles that I hear people say.
Yeah, Ben Reilly is the guy that was supposed to be the real Peter Parker until they kind of turned tail and went the obvious way with it. So Peter Parker finds out he's a clone, and then it turns out he's not actually a clone, and Ben Reilly is really the clone. And so he's just a clone Peter Parker who dyed his hair blonde and put on this other kind of Spider-Man suit and is the more edgy kind of Spider-Man.
Gotcha. Well, thank you for expanding my horizons on that.
Yeah, sure, no problem. I loved Scarlet Spider when that was going on in the mid-90s. But yeah, and it's and now that I'm looking at this again, it's weird because he's not wearing this costume in the book. He has this what Eric calls like the male Spider-Gwen costume. Like,
dude, there's just something inherently that works about Spider-Man with a hoodie. There's something just
see. I don't know. I'm already sick of it personally, but I don't. I like what Eric said. He said, I want to just assume that the cosplayer he stole that suit off of was trying to do a male Spider-Gwen. That's what that was.
He was trying to do, what is it, a Rule 36 or 63 or whatever. Spider-Gwen. That's funny. No, man, I don't know what it is. Just Spider-Man hoodie. It just works. It's like peanut butter and chocolate, even though I can't eat peanut butter. It's just one of those things, you know.
Yeah, and I have to say, I mostly picked that because I just felt the need to talk about it. It's so weird, and I wanted to bring it up. I didn't like it as I read it. The more I'm talking about it, there are certainly things I like about it, but it's not what I would want from this book. But then again, after Clone Conspiracy, no Ben Reilly fan can have what he wants. It's not possible. So I don't know. Maybe eventually it gets. I don't know. And I have collected most of Peter David Spider-Man stuff, so I might end up. I might try one or which I've done before with things. I have all of his 2099 and have liked what I've read of that, but I just need to catch up on it. So he's 22 issues in. I haven't even finished the last volume. I just have this stack of 2099. So that is our show, and now we're going to go on to cake. We're going to eat our birthday cake. What kind of cupcake did you get this time, Ian?
I got the same one I got last time because, God, that was a good cupcake.
It looks really good. Yeah, it's like double layered and
chocolate. Oh, it's just delicious.
It's
My
insane.
my fiance is going at me because I didn't buy her a cupcake. So I'm gonna split it in half. She's gonna have the bottom half.
You basically have two right there. Like,
Yes, I'm gonna split it. She's gonna get the bottom half of the cupcake. You want to come in
Well, I
here
got
and get
something.
the
I got something a little different this time. I went to this place called Nothing Bunt Cakes. Nothing Bunt Cakes, and they have they have just bunt cakes.
Mm.
And so I got a bunt cupcake. I've never had anything like this. Look, it's a bunt cupcake. Yeah, it's white chocolate raspberry. It's a bunt cupcake. So I'll see what that's like. We'll see what it's like. But unfortunately, I can't like you can't taste my cupcake like through the screen, so you won't know what it's like. But
Taste-O-Vision would be an amazing thing.
yeah, it would.
All right, so
anyway,
we're eating now. Is that what's happening?
Well, you just have a bite real quick, and be like, "This is a good cupcake," and then we'll finish it. Oh, you know what? I'm gonna have to eat this later. There's no getting this out of here without getting it all over my fingers. Wow, that frosting. It's all okay. I'll be doing that afterwards. Anyway, well, folks, thanks a lot for watching. We sure appreciate it. Hope you enjoyed this month's pool party. We will see you again next month with another one. In the meantime, I'm Captain Logan.
I'm Sydpart2. And this is Haley. And we
hi, Haley. And we all got cake. See ya, folks.